My name is Jacki Baldwin from Evans Elementary here in Pike County, and mine is student seating and how it affects on-task behavior. My problem in practice was that the problem I have with students face today is sitting in their assigned seat for an extended period of time. After a short period of time, students begin to fidget and become off task. I would notice that kids would be laying, they would be just everywhere. So, my research question was, how does flexible seating affect the behaviors of students in the classroom? Well, research has shown that students do not have enough core strength to hold their body in one position for an extended time. And as the body gets tired, they have to shift and fidget. This shifting causes them to slump their body for the rest and their minds to wander off task to daydream about other things. So my solution was I chose to implement flexible seating into my classroom. This year I have a very small group. I've never had a small group like this in 19 years. This is the first one. I have only 14 students, but 20% of those students are special needs students. So my hope was that with the smaller number of students and the little behavior problems I have, even though I do have several that are special needs, I only have a couple that are behavior problems. So I thought this would be a really good year to try this out. With flexible seating options in the classroom, the students do not sit in an assigned seat. They choose their seats daily. Now, I found that most still end up going to similar places because they'll find one that they really like. They get different options to sit, where and how and with whom they want. I wasn't really sure how this would work. I was afraid this might become a behavior problem, but I found that it didn't. I found that even though some of my students may move 2 or 3 times a day, it's quiet. You don't even have the time noticed. You'll just notice they're not where they were. So it gives them ownership in their education. It allows them to choose the style of seating that they need for the day. Each student is given an option to change their seating style as often as they need. It allows the students to be mobile, moving, and pay more attention to the details in their work. The only resources that were needed were the seating options. Now, my data collection, the students were observed for their on-task behaviors on a semi-weekly basis for the first 8 weeks of school before I implemented it. After the strategy was implemented into the classroom, the students were again monitored for their on-task behaviors as a bi-weekly. And I also looked at their MAP scores. This is our MAP scores, and this shows all 14 of my students. I actually did in the blue is the reading for the fall, the orange is the reading for the winter, and then I have the math for the fall, I think it's like a gray, and the next one is the math for the winter. If you look at it, you'll see that, let me go over here. You'll see that 86% of my students increased in the MAP for reading. There was 2 that didn't, and they were both special needs. But 100% increased on the math scores. Then I have a behavior chart also, where I have all the students on there, and you'll see that I split it up in fall and spring. And so it ended up being that 100% were on task more, they're improved on task, and at least it stayed the same or it increased. So my goals that were achieved were increased on-task behavior of the students in my classroom. They did become more actively engaged. They took more ownership, and they worked more collaboratively with their peers. Okay, what would I change? Again, I heard somebody talking about the balls. I love them, and my students really, really like them. But I started out with 8. I have 4 now. And it wasn't scissors, it was pencils. It was pencils. And but their all-time favorite in my classroom are the Bungee Chairs. They love the Bungee Chairs. There's a picture, I think, here in a second. And they love the wobble stools also. Like I said, I had 4 that popped. So next year I plan on taking the balance balls out, and I would love to do the desk that you were talking about and the little rockers. That's what I'm hoping for next year. The types of flexible seating that I use, and of course I didn't purchase all this with the grant money, some of it I actually made myself. I had the stability balls, the wobble seats, the bungee chairs, bean bags, a stand-up table where I actually just lifted one of my tables up. I lowered one of my tables that I had and used the cushions. I have carry cushions, and I also made crate seats and bucket seats, and they're a big favorite too. These are, of course, are just pictures of some of the things that I actually use, but here it is. This is the first one is a lowered table that I actually made into a chalk table. Then the other one right beside it is one of my tables that I actually raised so that they use to stand. And then I have a little bean bag there. This is my crates, or this is my bucket seats that I make, and then they take and put those cushions on themselves. They just decided to do that. One of my little boys, he absolutely loves to lay in the floor, and he will work all day long. So they know if they want to sit in the floor, that's fine. As long as they go get their clipboards, they have no problems with it. And then, of course, I have another one of the bean bags. Here's my balls. And then this is the bungee chair. This one right here is the bungee chair, and they absolutely love it. They love it. But I think that's it. Anyone have any questions?